Millions of people currently qualify for at least one bonus refund check. Officials even said that there are billions of dollars in unclaimed payments right now. These checks can be worth over $1,000 for many of you guys. And according to CNBC News, there is a decent chance that your state is holding money or that other assets belong to you, and the government officials want you to have it. The National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators has said that about 33 million Americans collectively have an estimated $70 billion worth of unclaimed property being held by the state treasury. The types of assets that end up with states range from uncashed checks or rebate checks to inactive brokerage accounts and unpaid life insurance benefits. The average value of each claim is $2,000. Last year, about $4 billion in property tax was returned to the rightful owners. While each state has its own rules that govern the process of claiming the property, you can count on being required to prove that you are the rightful owner. For example, providing documents confirming your identity. States often try to locate people as well, for instance, matching the owner's information to a tax return. And according to officials, state treasuries get new unclaimed property turned over to them every single day. Officials are encouraging people to check their missing money in a national cleaning house for unclaimed assets, and most people are participating in this. The IRS may have some extra money for you, and the tax agency has announced that more than $500 million in outstanding refunds remain unclaimed for the 2019 tax. The agency estimates that more than 1.5 million taxpayers might have qualified for a refund but did not file a federal income tax return for the 2019 tax year. If you were to do a refund, you must file a federal income tax return to get your money. Things are a little bit different this year. You have more time than usual to claim the 2019 refund. That's because the normal filing deadline to claim refunds is typically around the April tax deadline. But the filing deadline, everybody, for 2019 tax returns wasn't normal at all. It was postponed to July 15th due to the crisis. The IRS estimates the midpoint for the potential unclaimed refunds for 2019 to be $893. That means half of the refunds are more than $893 and half are less.
Tonight, money is on the way to millions of Californians to help ease the pain of inflation. The stimulus payments are part of the state budget deal just announced last night. The checks are designed as tax refunds. Families could receive up to $1,050 through direct deposits and debit cards. APIX5's Lauren Toms breaks down how it works and spoke to Bay Area families about whether it will actually help.
Barring a refining disruption, I'm hopeful we can get to $3.49 between Halloween and Thanksgiving. He also added that there's an outside chance the national average reaches a low of $3.29. There's no major hurricane in the Gulf Coast or more refinery outages. However, analysts also warned the decline could slow temporarily and even turn higher in some areas like California and the Midwest. Prices were already rising recently in those areas as well. The least expensive states for gas are in the South. Drivers are paying an average of $3.26 for a gallon of gas in Texas and Arkansas, and some states continue to see much higher prices like California, where the average is $5.26 a gallon, and Nevada at $4.84. The U.S. exported nearly 10 million barrels of oil and refined products last week, according to U.S. Energy Information Administration. Exports of gas totaled 1 million barrels a day for the week. Everybody, Joe Biden's new Inflation Act is now offering up to $14,000 in additional financial assistance to many low-income families. There are over 70 Democratic lawmakers that are urging Congress to step up to the plate and pass legislation that would actually prevent a government shutdown. Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act on climate change is helping many Americans reduce their carbon footprint. A key element in that push is offering up to $14,000 in rebates and tax credits for people to make their homes more energy efficient. Those benefits can be used to lower the cost of home upgrades, ranging from installing heat pumps to buying new electric purchases, and like stoves and dryers. About 40% of carbon emissions stems from buildings, and so these incentives can actually help the U.S. achieve its goal of lowering fossil fuel emissions. According to experts, this gives people some very concrete and generous incentives to do that, both in the form of tax credits and direct cash rebates. CBS News has said that it is the biggest federal investment in buildings ever, at least one that is specified for climate change. There are two separate rebate programs. The Homes Rebate Program provides more than $4 billion in states to help residents make their entire home more energy efficient, and the program provides rebate based on the energy savings they upgrade their home in. And now, for instance, homeowners that make changes that cut their energy usage by at least 35% can get up to $4,000 in rebates. That amount is doubled for low and middle-income households who can get $8,000 in rebates. High Efficiency Electric Home Rebate Act provides rebate for low and middle-income families to electrify their home, like installing heat pumps or electric clothes dryers. The per-household rebate is capped at $14,000, and households cannot receive 2 rebates for the same upgrade. The Homes Rebate program would cover upgrades from solar panels to new windows that help your home become more energy efficient. The other program designates rebates for specific appliances and purchases and other upgrades. One of the consumers and one of the most appealing rebates is a provision that is offering up to $8,000 for heat pumps, and this provides air and conditioning as heating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in March, the SEC proposed a climate risk disclosure rule that takes a big step toward increasing the efficiency of the economy and of financial markets by requiring companies to inform investors about the climate-related risks that affect their businesses. Now, as part of this rule, the SEC proposes that companies disclose their greenhouse gas emissions, and a company's emissions are classified into 3 different categories called scopes. So, Chair Gensler, just so we can set a baseline here, let's run through an example. Let's say I'm Exxon. My Scope 1 emissions would be from things like my company's vehicles and methane leaks that occur at the wellhead of the wells that I own. Scope 2 emissions would be those from electricity I purchase, for example, in order to power my operations. Scope 3 would cover upstream emissions from the production of what I buy, like the chemicals I use to refine my oil into gasoline or diesel fuel, and the downstream emissions from what I sell, like the refined gas or the diesel my customers buy at the pump. Do I basically have that right, Chair Gensler?
Yes.
Good. So you need all 3 scopes, because otherwise a company could just stop doing the filthiest part of their business and hire some smaller non-reporting company to do the same filthy work and then report themselves as greener. So, Chair Gensler, for a fossil fuel company like Exxon, what percentage of their total emissions are Scope 3 emissions?
I suspect you might know that better than I haven't looked, but it's often over half. It could well be. In some companies, I don't know Exxon, some companies it's as much as 90%.
Well, you're close on that last number. According to an S&P Global analysis, about 88% of the emissions of these fossil fuel companies like Exxon are Scope 3 emissions. So